When you're buying comic books online, is there really an advantage to seeing the scans of the books before you buy them? Hey there, today I have an unboxing video of comic books. This was an order I placed on eBay, and it was several buy it now purchases, all from one seller. And with the interesting part for me with this order is I actually examined the scans of the comics before purchasing them. Each of these books were listed on eBay, and they were listed with a very specific grade, which not a lot of sellers do. Most sellers on eBay, you see the I mean, you name it. Every phrase in the book, gently used, never read, never opened, comes from a smoke-free home, like whatever it is, you'll see it on eBay. You rarely see the books listed with a grade with a bunch of photos and scans. And this particular seller, Top Notch Comics, I went through their inventory online. They had pages and pages of comics. And these particular books, there were 7 books in this order, they kind of popped out at me. And I just, again, paid a lot of close attention to the scans. But the question that I have is it does it make a difference? Does it matter? Because even with photos and scans and everything, you get a better idea. I mean, certainly if you're buying a lower grade copy, you maybe want to see the scan to see if is there a page tear, is there writing on the cover, and so forth. But when you're talking about books that are in the range of grades that these books are in, which I'd say they're probably all about an 8.0 from the listings. Now, when I open the order and start taking a look at the books, we'll see if they're truly in that very fine grade. But I get a lot of feedback with how I order, and it mainly is around buying a lot of the comic book sight unseen. I get comments like, there's no way I would ever spend that much money on a book or on a stack of books without seeing photographs, without, and to me, unless you're at an LCS or a show and you're actually physically holding the book and the price tag is there and you're negotiating with the seller, I don't really see a difference. I maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like the old like grading is subjective thing, that's the other label that a lot of the sellers throw in books. As long as they're in a general category. What I won't do is I won't buy sight unseen just of a book. But if, for example, on Atomic Avenue, which I buy a lot of my books from, they break down the grades into maybe about 6 or 7 different categories. And a lot of times the grades are all over the place. And I just try and take a general average or a consensus based on the seller that I'm purchasing from. And I just sort of construct my own data driven opinion as far as whether or not the seller is going to send me high grade books or not. And in some cases, the books are undergraded. Many cases, they're overgraded. But it helps me formulate an opinion so that I can then buy sight unseen. It gives me more power in that regard. Whereas if I'm buying from the millions of eBay sellers, even with a photograph, I don't quite always know, unless I'm buying a lot of books from them, if the grade that they've assigned to the book or even the photograph. I mean, are we all using DSLRs or are we just kind of holding up the iPhone and shaking it and you get that blurred photo? But this particular seller had fairly good photos or scans of the books, multiple photos of each book. And I thought this would be a good experiment for me because I found a seller that, first of all, grades the books, like assigns a grade and provides detailed photographs. So I spent a lot of time just kind of combing through the inventory to find these books that I'm about to open. So let's get to it. Let's look at the books, and I will let you know what grade was assigned the book. And if any look intriguing, certainly take them out and grade them here. And then hopefully through this little comic book buying experiment, I can maybe come up with an answer to my question to figure out, is there do you have an advantage of seeing a scan of the book on eBay? If somebody sends you a photograph of the comic, is that really advantageous? So let's see how these turned out. And did these books and did those grades line up with the photos that the seller provided? All right, here we go. This is the order from Top Notch Comics on eBay. Sent media mail. The media mail thing is what it is. It is a risk. I get it. All of these books were put together in an order with combined shipping. Let's get to the unboxing and get the books out of here. All right, so the first thing, open this snake. Okay, so what is cool here with these books is they're all in my lights. So that's awesome. Love that. So I really appreciate that. Just adds an extra layer of protection on all the books. Because of all the tape, though, I'll probably end up having to replace it, but at least in transit, it helped secure all the books. So I do appreciate that from the seller. All right, let's get through these 7 books and see what we got. So I don't think these are like magazine style or anything, but it is obviously larger. It does feel like it's magazine. It's definitely larger. I think it's larger than silver. Anyway, Amazing Spider-Man 175. This book was listed as very fine 8.0. It is written by Roy Thomas and Harlan Ellison, with art by Rich Buckler. Buckler did the cover art here. This one, I looked at the scans, and with the darker colors, especially around here, I wanted to make sure that there weren't any problems or any... Basically, what I looked for when I was examining the scans is were there spine ticks? Were there visible spine ticks? And if there were, was it an acceptable amount to keep it in the range of what was listed? So this one, I've mentioned this before, any Amazing Spider-Man with Punisher featured, I grab. I just feel like it's just a classic combo. So just by looking at it here, I did notice this in the photo as well, that little color break or notch there in the green. But for the most part, a very, very strong and nice copy. So, most of these, I imagine, are going to need a little bit of a clean and press to help just kind of, get them in as best shape as possible. But I thought these were all reasonably priced. And if you stay tuned to the end, I will go over the order details and break down what I paid for these and see if, even from a fair market value perspective, if it was worth it. All right, everyone's all in on Secret Wars, just not this Secret Wars, the original. They're all in on the 2015 Secret Wars and buying up all the copies because everyone believes that will be the next thing. While I don't think they're wrong, I love the original Secret Wars. This is Secret Wars number 4, and this is cover art here by Bob Layton. I grew up reading Iron Man. Bob Layton was the cover artist, did interiors as well. So I was just kind of attached to Bob Layton as an artist. This was a book and a cover that I've never owned. This is my first copy of this one, and I've always loved it. I've always loved poor Hulk basically just holding up the earth and protecting the heroes. And there's Mr. Layton's signature printed, not on the cover. He didn't sign this one, but right there next to the Spider-Man in the corner box. But love this cover. Always kind of stood out to me as being interesting and unique. And this was listed as a 9.0. It looks amazing. Looks really nice. So I can't wait to get some of these out and grade them because I think I've got a good shot. So I think that I'm going to have to open up some of these and look and inspect them out of the My Light, because it's the only way, obviously, I'm going to be able to tell and kind of answer my question about, was I able to really hone in on some good deals and maybe some books that were undergraded purely based on scans. Now, this is an interesting one, Avengers 101. And what is interesting to me is really the border. So this was something that I specifically looked at and studied the scan, and just felt like this one in particular is a tough one in sight unseen, because you're just going to, it's going to be dinged. This one was listed in a very fine 8.0. And again, what I paid attention to is, are there color breaks, right? And in this one on the spine, I see a couple of very faint color breaks right in here, but that's it. It looks really, really strong. The corners are soft, so that one's a little soft up there, as is the bottom corner right there. Kind of some specks just a little bit down here on the bottom edge, but wow, very, very strong copy. Again, like I said, all of these are going to need a little bit of a clean and press. It does appear to have some sort of, I don't know what you call it, little streaking. It's hard to pick up here, but just little tiny streaks on the cover. Staples are in a bad place, so I may not be able to press this one. But boy, it's pretty strong as is. There are no like surface scratches or anything. So of course I'm sitting here and I'm staring at the grade, and I'm looking at the book, or I'm staring at the book and I'm thinking about the grade, I should say. And I'm obviously biased towards that 8. But is this really an 8.0? I mean, I hesitate. It is definitely dirty on the back, but not super dirty. I think a general wipe down would help it. But again, the press with the staples being out of position is going to be a real challenge. I think these are white pages, so that's really awesome. But again, even trying to find the staples here, even trying to find them would be a challenge, because they're in a weird spot. So yeah, here's where they are in the center of the book. So I'd have to really be mindful of that, and figure out how to do that without damaging the book here. So anyway, I think it's a very strong copy. If I were to really nitpick it, there's a little bit of creasing here, some dirt or streaking, and I don't know what that is. So professional grading could really pick that apart. A little bit of a scratch here. So it's certainly possible right in there. Again, hard to pick up because of the white, but there's a scratch going in there. But the front is so strong that even if this got an 8, the presentation is really, really strong. There is a little bit of a bend here. I just noticed that as the light picked that up right in here. So I wonder if this book was pressed. Hard to say. Regardless, I think it's a strong copy, whether it's been pressed already or not. I don't know. What grade would you give that? And also, this is one of those, what I call like value books, right? Because this particular style of the way Marvel did these kind of border covers. First of all, there's a particular collector that collects these comics with the borders, because they stand out a little bit more. And then the other reason is they're tough books. They're tough books and high grade. So I don't know. I mean, I just want to give it an 8 just because I feel like that's the grade I know. That's the grade that was assigned. But could that sneak up into a 9? Yeah, it's possible. So that's pretty cool. Next one, Eternals number 7. All of these early single-digit Eternals books, they have lots of first appearances. Some of the appearances stick, some of them don't. This one, it's Tefral the Surveyor, Jemiah the Analyzer, Isan the Searcher, Nizar the Calculator. So those are your first appearances in here, or even first cameo. First appearance nonetheless. And then this one has some significance other than it being from Jack Kirby, because it's the first mention of the One Above All, the leader of the Celestials, and the One Above All also was mentioned recently during the Immortal Hulk run over the last several years. So this one was listed as a very fine 8.0. This is my second Eternals book. It was one of those, I would say, falls under the category of things that scared me as a child. Eternals was weird. I just didn't quite understand it when I was growing up. Again, looks like a strong copy. The colors are amazing. Just take this out and give it a brief once over. But I don't know. I don't think. I mean, there's a bit of a crease right in there. I don't believe that book was pressed. So there's definitely some creasing. But again, this is the kind of book that I targeted. I tried to get the minimal number of like color breaks that I could see, because I felt like if the person was grading it for other reasons and just said, oh, there's a crease here or there, here's another reason. Like on the back, it's got something. I don't even know what that is. I don't know if it's ink or scuffing, but that's probably a big detractor for the original owner or seller. But other than that, it's great. A really, really strong copy. So what I would do, a little bit in the 30-cent price box, a little bit of smudging there, but corners sharp, right? Really great. So yeah, I think some of these I'm kind of leaning towards the seeing the scan, and I know like, yeah, seeing is believing. Of course, you want to see the book, so it's going to turn out better, or at least match up with the grade, or you're able to make a better assessment. However, these were not dollar books. I paid a decent amount for each of these, so you're almost paying for you're almost like paying a fee in a way to see photos. Whereas the sight unseen folks, I've said that's a bit more risk, but I think you have more reward that way. But it's a different angle, different approach. Now, the next couple of books, Fantastic Four, Silver Age, these were low grade, but again, I thought that they presented better than, I would say your average low grade book. This one is Fantastic Four 76. Second appearance of Psycho Man, if you're into Psycho Man spec, but written by Stan Lee, art by Jack Kirby, and like I've talked about before, I don't want to get in an argument online about keys and what makes a key book in this day and age. I feel like honestly, all books of this era in sort of mainstream titles, especially Marvel, they're all becoming keys. So let me just pop this open. This one was listed as very good plus, so a 4.5. And there's definitely a lot of fading here in the darker portion of the cover, even up into the corner box there, the character box. A little bit of a miswrap down there, and it's super dirty. So this would be a fun one to work on because it's already a mess, right? And there's not much I can do with the front just being kind of faded or worn out. But and it has a crease running down the middle here. Let me try and pick it up in the light for you. Right there, you can kind of see it. So that's going all the way up and down the book. So does it deserve that 4.5? I would say so. I mean, I've talked about this before. Once you get into you get under 6 when you start to see things at the top. the top of the book gets like a little bit of folding or just curling or waviness, color breaks, and to me that's the delineation between like a 6.0 or below. Is I look at the top of the book. Certainly the bottom applies as well, but I think it's just sort of human nature to look at the top half of the book. That's the way that the books were sold on the rack, on the newsstand, and people grab them from the top. So I always sort of look at the top and make my assessment there. I give it an overall assessment, a little bit of finger bends down here at the bottom. So it's definitely, I think it's, it's in that 4.0 ballpark. Could I bump this up to a 6? I don't think so, but it would still be fun to work on to see if I could truly turn it into maybe even a 5. There's no way it's getting a 5 with that amount of dirt. So this would be a really fun one to get out and do a little wet cleaning. Staples are right on the side, so a good candidate to go through and press out and try and get that crease down the middle. Now this one, I would probably have to break out the humidity bath as well, just because it's just, the cover is just so warped and wrinkly. All right, tape got me on that one. 2 more books to go. This is Fantastic Four 70. This one also, actually 76 was a 4.0. This one is listed as a 4.5, so I got that a little backwards there, but still in that 4.0 range. Again, written by Stan Lee, art by Jack Kirby. Sue Storm front and center right there on the cover. Again, tough book with the darker background. Lots of color breaks, lots of page warping. Probably dirty. Yeah, it's definitely faded. Page tear. So this one's probably under 4. I'd probably give this one 2.5, maybe a 3, but probably in this one's probably closer to a 2.5. I picked it up just because I mentioned this before. It's Fantastic Four under issue 100. Buying around the keys, it checks a lot of boxes for me. Not that I'm going to have a full complete run of Fantastic Four, but I would just say I'm looking at books under issue 100 that are non-keys, right? And when I say keys, I'm saying that's what the influencers and the apps and everyone else says are keys. But what I say are keys are all of these books. And I'm not saying every book is a key, but I'm saying like Fantastic Four 1 through 100 at this point, eventually they're all keys. They're all super significant in the history of comic books. And as time passes, we want to make sure that these books fall in the right hands, where they're conserved and so forth. So this one I think was overgraded, especially there's just so many problems like that page tear, the tanning, the dirt, a little stain at the top. So kind of unfortunate, but I took a chance. I think this one, I remember looking at the picture and I just said, I don't care, I'm going to get it anyway. So kind of got caught up in, the thought of acquiring Fantastic Four Silver Age, and probably overpaid for that one based on the grade. Okay, the last book, Submariner 63. This is a miswrapped book, clearly, but I grabbed this. This was actually a value pick that I pointed out, where I felt like some of these Submariner books had a lot of sort of sneaky hidden value in high grade. So let's take a look here. This one was listed as an 8.0, and just looking at it in the light, it does have a little bit of sort of creasing or warping. Right in there is a little bit of dimpling and a crease right there, actually right over there as well. The miswrap is what it is, kind of protecting that corner color a little bit. I'd say it's borderline acceptable, just a touch soft. This bottom corner is in a little bit of worse shape there, just some fraying at the bottom. All of these, again, just a little bit of dirt that has to be kind of wiped off. but strong. Actually, not so strong now that I look at it up here at the top. I am not sure what that is. Just a bunch of ink. Don't know if that's going to come out. So that ink alone is, even if this was a pristine book with whatever that is, that's really too bad. So that's probably pulling the book down into the sevens or eights. Looks like white pages, so it has that, but not quite the quality that I thought I was getting. I think it's still a great book. I think it's a great cover. John Romita on cover art, so you can't beat that. But yeah, probably not the 8.0 very fine. I mean, if it's completely pressed, the thing is that, especially with that miswrap, color breaking spine ticks, they almost don't really exist. They're just spine ticks. So if this could be completely pressed into a flat, no spine ticks whatsoever, nothing, and just a little bit of softening, you're probably looking at 9.2, 9.4, and then the ink. So it's just a matter of how much does that ink pull the book down in grade. Is it an 8? Is it a 7? Yeah, probably somewhere in there. And then I wonder, is it even worth the press? I think so. I think it's still worth it. It's a great book. Great look. Green and yellow, great colors. Awesome. Love that. So those are the books. Let me show you what I paid for them, and we'll take a look at the grades that the seller assigned to these books and see if maybe they have any value if they were professionally graded at that grade. So let's take a look and see what I paid for these. All right, here we go. This is the order I placed from Top Notch Comics on eBay. It was a $126.20 order, 7 books in the order, and it was $4.95 to ship these books because of the media mail, and then it was additional $10.53 with tax. So I took the tax and shipping, distributed the additional cost of tax and shipping, applied it to each book to make sure my math is right. $126.20 right there. Now, I'll put in the grades that the seller listed them at, and we can see what, if at all it has value in a CGC slab at that grade. But first, let's just take a look at the fair market value. So I've got my total cost here in column Z all set up and ready to go, and I want to compare it to the raw value that I added to the order based on column U, which is the fair market value on cover price. So because it's 7 books, I'll just kind of go through them one at a time. Eternal 7 cost $17, fair market value over 22, a modest $5.42 gain. Avengers 101 also positive at almost $4 of additional value, $22 for me to purchase with the $26 fair market value. Next 2 books were considered a loss from an FMV perspective. I paid $12.02 for Secret Wars 4. That was $3.17 over fair market value. And Amazing Spider-Man 175 was a surprising, it was over $10 more than fair market value. According to cover price, that is an $8.55 book from 1977. I would love to get that book for $8. That's very cool if you could get that in high grade. The big winner here was Fantastic Four 76, except I think it's in worse shape. Or no, that was 7. I'm getting them both confused now. So 76 was the first one I showed, and that one looked to be appropriately graded. And so that cost me $22.16, almost an additional $12 gain as compared to fair market value. It was the next book, Fantastic Four 70, that was in pretty rough shape. Even from an FMV perspective, I paid $17. Cover price is saying it is a $24.51 book. Submariner 63 was right around fair market value. Again, this was sort of a value pick for me because I felt like if it were in high grade, it's worth more than maybe even what FMV is reporting, but still a little $2 gain there. Just for fun, I'm going to start out with the 9.8, just so you can see again why I target certain books. It's because of the ceiling, it's because of that potential. So this order had the potential of having a CGC value of over 5 grand. Now I saw the books with scans. I knew they were not 9.8s. The seller knew they were not 9.8s. So it's really irrelevant. I just do it for fun because again, I like to see kind of the target. And the ceiling is important because even if I didn't get a book in high grade like 63, Submariner 63, it like if I guess if you held up two books and you said Submariner 63 or Avengers 101 in a 9.8, which one is more valuable? Just take a guess. I think most people would guess Avengers. But Submariner 63 has a $900 9.8 value, and Avengers 101 has an 800. But if you look at the FMV, it's flipped. 101 is $7 more. So that's where I'm trying to sort of devise this strategy around value, is because if you just look at FMV and go, well, for the age and the FMV, maybe it's a 10x multiplier, maybe it's a 20x multiplier. I don't know. I'm just guessing. You'd be guessing wrong. There's other factors at play as far as why these books in high grade are worth more than you think. So let's get rid of these because it's just, it's quite sad and disappointing because I clearly don't have these books in that grade. All right, so this one was listed as 8.0. CGC value of $20 in an 8.0 for Eternal 7. Even in an 8.0 for a book in 1976, it's surprising that it's $20, but would I actually buy that as an 8.0 slab for 20? Probably not. 8.0 for 101 has no CGC value. That's surprising. How about 8.5? 86. I think I was saying it has maybe the potential to be a 9.2. Still $80, $89, $100, somewhere around there. So I'll leave it at 8 for 0. That's funny. Secret Wars in a 9. 37. That seems about right. How about Spider-Man 175 and an 8? This has to have some value, right? 40. Yeah, maybe. How about, like, what if I pressed it? 54. A 9. 73. Yeah, so they are what they are. Now, let me grab the FF's last. Submariner 63 and an 8.0. $20. Yeah, nothing there. And then how about these guys? So this one, 76 and a 4.0. 0. 4.5. 31. So that's tough. Again, if you're looking at grading those FF books, were sort of a bust, especially FF 70. It has a $31 value in a 4. It's still surprising to me. I don't know why. Those two from 1968 in a 4.0, and again, because they're just not listed anywhere as keys, they have no value in that low a grade. I mean, maybe, and this is why, again, I target 6.0 because maybe I just don't have, there we go. I typically target 6.0 for like Silver Age Raws because I feel like that, even in those non-keys, a 6.0, it gets you in the ballpark of that $100 slab. So you could see here 76 is 90, 70 creeps up to 62. What grade actually puts it close to 100? Probably maybe 7.5. The data's all over the place. An 8 there. That one would have to be an 8.0. An 8.0 from 1968 for $94 to get it close to that. So let's put those back to where I got them just so we can see. So overall, if sight unseen, I sent all of these books off to CGC These books that actually had data reported in those grades, $95 loss. So, boy, this is a tough one to really kind of. I mean, I love the books that I got, but at those particular grades, um, I made a little bit of money on the fair market value in terms of adding raw value to my collection, but $17.91. Now, here's the argument, right? You could tell me, well, hey, dummy, you knew the grade, you saw the scan. Why didn't you do the analysis first and look at those sorts of things so that you could, like, do the order analysis before you place the order, right? Go through and actually plug those grades in. Would I have placed the order even if I had seen the scans? I don't know. I maybe not. Now, I think these are all great books. I don't think, yeah, these are all brand new books. I was just looking at the list. I don't own any of them, and now I do. Now I own all seven. I don't have any additional copies of these. So in that sense, I kind of like that I've added them to my collection. But on the other hand, it's nothing really all that special, right? And eBay is the biggest driver of the, or influencer. I mean, it's just data, but it's what's driving places like Cover Price. And I've talked about this before. Like when you purchased books, slabbed or otherwise, from eBay, that's going to be reported right into those services, and they're going to pick up that data. So that's where the FMV being pretty much almost in line. I mean, $17.91, not bad, but it's not. That's not bad, but I could just kind of tell, like, okay, I bought this book at this price, and that's roughly around the FMV, and it's like I don't know if I just wonder about that, like as I'm buying off of places like eBay, if I'm helping or hurting the book by actually completing the transaction. So those are the books. I still love them. I think it's great. So I'm happy to add them to my collection. But if I were to buy these same seven books sight unseen and they were all listed as VF or the FFs were listed as VG, would it have mattered? I mean, the little nuanced half grade here or there, or even full grade, if they all kind of needed a little bit of a comic book CPR anyway, did the scans matter? I mean, I think it only matters if the seller is grossly overgrading or trying to rip you off and telling you it's a near mint book and it's actually a VG, right? I think in those cases the scans matter. But when I'm looking at the actual data values, the value for this order, I've placed many orders like this, sight unseen, and the numbers look about the same. So I think it makes you feel better. It makes you feel like, I see the book, I'm going to get this. It's in better shape than what the scans show. And then you get the book home and there's an ink stain on the back that didn't pick up on the scan. So, honestly, I think if you're a collector and you're selling, you're keeping the highest grade copies for yourself anyway. You're not throwing 9/8 on eBay, especially these older books from the 60s and 70s. So that's where I feel like maybe seeing the scan just doesn't matter. What do you think? I'd love to hear your feedback on this. I get a lot of, again, some commentary about, how I buy and what I buy. So I'd love to hear your stories. And do you only buy if you see a picture? Would you mind buying the book at a little bit of a discount if you didn't? Please leave me a comment. I'd love to get some dialogue going on this topic. Thank you for watching. Happy collecting, and see you next time.